Imagine a time before written history, when the world was ruled not by kings, but by goddesses. The earth itself was a womb, and the mysteries of life and death were whispered by women who held the keys to both. This was a time before fear, before suppression, before the great turning when men, trembling in the dark, decided such power must be broken. But power like this does not disappear. It goes underground. It hides in symbols, in myths, in the flicker of a woman's gaze that tells you she knows something you do not. And that is what terrifies them. Long before Aristotle declared women inferior, before the church branded them as temptresses, before science reduced their bodies to objects of study, women were feared. Not for their weakness, but for their strength. The earliest human societies worshipped the Great Mother. From the Venus of Willendorf to the serpent-crowned priestesses of Crete, divinity was female. Why? Because women held the ultimate magic, the power to create life. Men could hunt, they could fight, they could build, but they could not give birth. And that unknown, that mystery, was terrifying. Aristotle himself, the so-called father of logic, wrote that women were mutilated males, incomplete and irrational. But was this philosophy or fear? Because if a woman's body was sacred, if her intuition was divine, then what did that make men? And so the Great Suppression began. By the Middle Ages, the fear had a name: witchcraft. But what was witchcraft really? Healing herbs? Knowledge of the stars? The ability to soothe pain or curse enemies? These were women's secrets, passed down through generations. And the church could not allow it. Because if a woman could heal, she could also harm. If she could bless, she could damn. And if she knew more than the priests, then their authority meant nothing. The witch hunts were not about superstition. They were about control. A woman who knew too much was dangerous. A woman who refused to submit was a threat. And so, millions were burned, drowned, silenced, all to ensure one message: stay in your place. But here's the question that haunts history. Why were they so afraid? Because they knew, deep down, that female power was real. You might think we've moved beyond this, that modern men, with their science and their logic, no longer fear the feminine. But look closer. Why is a confident woman called bossy, while a man is assertive? Why is a woman's anger hysterical, while a man's is passionate? Why do men still flinch when a woman speaks her mind too boldly? Because the old fear remains. A woman who knows her power is unpredictable. She cannot be easily controlled. She cannot be bought with empty compliments or threats. And worst of all, she sees through the lies. The ancient philosophers trembled because they sensed a truth they could not name. That female power is not brute force, but something far more terrifying: influence. The power to shape minds, to inspire revolutions, to bring men to their knees not with violence, but with a single, unbreakable gaze. And that is the forbidden knowledge they tried to bury. The pendulum is swinging back. Women are reclaiming their power, not as imitations of men, but as something far older. The witches are returning, the priestesses are awakening, and the men who once ruled by fear are finding themselves powerless against a force they do not understand. Because true power does not come from domination. It comes from creation, from intuition, from the unshakable knowing that has always lived in the bones of women, and the world will never be the same. The question is, are you ready?